Alright, this Saturday, April 8th, we have one of the most anticipated rematches in the history of the middleweight division and in the history of the UFC as a whole. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira 2 or 4, depending on how you look at it. And this is a hard fight to call, to say the least. 3 different times now, in 2 different sports, these guys have gone head-to-head, and each time we see pretty much the same result. In their first meeting, it was a very competitive kickboxing match, where, in my opinion, Israel Adesanya got the better of him in most of the exchanges and outlanded him. But it was a very close fight, and at the end of the day, the judges awarded Alex Pereira the victory. In their rematch, Israel Adesanya was taking complete control of the fight, hurting Pereira over and over, punishing him with huge right hands until Alex Pereira landed that huge left hook. Years later, somehow, someway, these two find each other standing across from one another with a completely different rule set, but at the end of the day, the result was the same. Israel Adesanya proving to be skill-wise the better fighter. But when you've got power like Pereira has in that left hook, it just doesn't matter. This is a tough one for Adesanya. I mean, the guy is clearly the better fighter. He's been fighting longer, has a more extensive career in kickboxing, way more experience in MMA. As we saw in their previous fight, Adesanya is the better grappler between the two. He's more technically skilled on the feet. I think when you really break this down, it's pretty clear that Adesanya is the better fighter. With having 3 times as many fights in MMA, Adesanya is the more experienced grappler and the more experienced mixed martial arts fighter. That being said, Alex Pereira is also really good. Both of these guys were fighting in Glory Kickboxing at the same time. Adesanya ended up fighting for the middleweight belt at Glory, losing in a controversial decision, whereas Alex Pereira ended up becoming the middleweight champion and then going even further, becoming the light heavyweight champion. While Alex Pereira is a very technically sound kickboxer, I would give the edge to Adesanya. Adesanya just seems to be a little bit more of a cerebral striker. And with Adesanya being the better grappler, you would think that eventually he's going to win. If these guys fight 10 times, I do not believe that Alex Pereira wins 10 out of 10 times. Israel Adesanya is bound to get a victory one of these times, and I think that this next time is going to be it. While Alex Pereira has been able to get the best of Adesanya, Adesanya's been up every single one of these fights. He's just lost it at the end, both times getting hit by a huge left hook. If Adesanya's going to be able to pull this one off, he's going to have to, I don't know. Israel's in a really tough spot. I mean, we saw in their second kickboxing fight, he tried to get him out of there early, got caught by the huge left hook. We saw in their last MMA fight where he was taking complete control of the entire fight, beating him technically on the feet and out grappling him, still got caught by the big left hook. It's got to be pretty demoralizing. It seems like there's not a lot of options left for him to go into this fight with. That being said, he also has a lot to gain from the last few fights that he's had with him. Clearly, at least in terms of the head-to-head matchup, Alex Pereira is very susceptible to being caught with straight right hands. And again, Israel was almost able to get him out of there due to that right hand. On top of that, Israel definitely had some success in the grappling department. I'd be interested to see if he ends up taking this fight to the ground. I think that as a fighter, his ego is probably telling him that he wants to keep the fight in the feet and beat Pereira where he is best at. But at the end of the day, if the rules allow for it, he should definitely take advantage of the huge difference in grappling ability. But at the same time, Alex Pereira was able to take down Adesanya, and Alex Pereira being the bigger, stronger fighter, you gotta wonder if maybe that's part of his game plan as well. Another thing to watch out for is Alex Pereira's weight. Though the guy has made 185 multiple times in the past, he's clearly had a lot of trouble making that weight, and apparently he balloons up to 220 right after the fights. It would be very unfortunate if on the day of the weigh-ins we find out that Alex Pereira does not make weight, and then therefore the belt is only up for grabs if Adesanya wins, and imagine if Pereira wins again. Adesanya's been saying that this fight is his last shot, and in a lot of ways it is. If he loses to Pereira again, that's 2 losses to the current champion. I don't see a scenario that will get him back to a third fight, at least not anytime soon. And then if Pereira goes on to fight another contender like a Robert Whittaker, since we've seen the fight between Adesanya and Whittaker twice before, he's gonna have to fight a few more contenders. And now with Israel being 34 years old, you gotta think that he already doesn't have a lot of time left. If he wants to continue his career going in the direction of holding and defending belts, this is probably his last opportunity. And what if he does lose this fight? A lot of times the obvious answer for guys who are longtime champions who end up losing their belt with no clear path to regaining it is to go up a weight class. But the only problem is Alex Pereira also has plans to go up to 205. And if he retains the belt, he's going to be first in line for that title shot. I mean, imagine Adesanya loses to Pereira, decides to go up to 205 to make another run at the title, and then still has to run into the same guy. That would just be so unfortunate. But all in all, I think that we've already seen Adesanya have so much success against the same guy, game planning for him over and over and over. Alex Pereira is starting to get old himself. He's 35, coming up on 36 years old. He has trouble making middleweight. And on top of that, I think it's a matter of time, even if it's a fluke, it's a matter of time before Adesanya is able to get a victory over Pereira. And I think that at UFC 287, he's going to be able to get the job done. Also, we can't forget to mention the co-main event, which is going to be an absolute banger. Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal for, while not necessarily a number 1 contender fight, it's probably a number 2 contender fight. That fight's going to be explosive. Gilbert Burns has already made it very clear that he wants to keep that fight on the feet. With both of those guys going in looking for a knockout, there's no way that that fight is not going to be extremely entertaining. UFC 286 shaping up to be a very good card with major stakes on the line, and I can't wait to see how it all shapes out. Thanks for watching.